I never expected my father's secret would lead to a life-changing moment with the CEO. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The moment he picked me up from school, the pallor of his face grimmer than usual, my heart sank. My stomach twisted with dread. It was more than just another disappointing report about my grades, it was a family affair looming over us like a heavy storm. His hands trembled as he reached for the dash, and I could hear the rattling of secrets hiding in his pockets. I had seen our home fray at the edges before, the fading paint and creaking floors echoing the hurt beneath our facade. But today felt like it would shatter everything. I knew better than to ask, to pry into the refreshing coolness of his silence. It reeked of something bad. Each corner we took led us deeper into that unsettling quiet. We passed familiar streets, but they felt foreign. The sun was too bright for the shadows gathering around my father. There was a weight on his shoulders, a mystery wrapped in layers of guilt that clawed at my insides. I thought of my mother's fleeting smile as she cooked, oblivious to the storm brewing within our walls. The love she poured into meals clashed like thunder with the tension in the car. After what felt like an eternity, we arrived at the towering corporate building, its glass doors reflecting secrets of a different kind. There, amid the whir of suits and whispered conversations, I learned that my father's secret wasn't just about him. He was juggling a bomb of revelations that could rip our lives apart. And then, I saw her, the CEO. She wore confidence like a tailored suit, striding through the lobby with purpose, each step echoing through my chest. Her eyes locked onto my father, an unspoken reckoning hanging palpably between them. My heart raced. What could she possibly know? Why was she here? The whispers of doubt circled around me. I wanted to hide, to melt into the wall behind me. My breath caught in my throat. I sensed something huge was surfacing, something that could change everything. As she approached us, I could feel the air thick with expectation. My father's jaw tightened, his brows knitted as he prepared to speak. But then the words vanished. A moment stretched. Time stopped. Her gaze shifted to me, piercing, inquisitive. And when it hit me, I had just walked into the eye of a storm. My father's secret was tangled with hers, and its unraveling would take more than just a family to navigate. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The silence that followed was deafening, stretching like a taut string about to snap. My father stood before the CEO, a man cornered by the weight of unspoken truths. I blinked, half expecting to wake up from this surreal moment, but the reality gnawed at me like raw nerves. She looked at me, and in that gaze, I felt a strange mix of fear and curiosity, a complex web tangled with my father's past and her future. Is everything okay? I finally managed to whisper, but the question hung in the air, unanswered. The CEO, with her polished demeanor, relented only slightly. Let us talk privately, shall we? Her tone was both commanding and soothing, masking the tempest swirling beneath her confident surface. My father's eyes flickered with unease, yet he nodded, leading us to a quieter corner of the lobby where the sound of clicking heels and hushed conversations faded into muffled echoes. As they began to converse, I felt as if I were observing a play in which I had not been cast. I caught fragments of their exchange, words such as interference, FYI reports, and potential dancing like shadows around the gravity of whatever lay between them. My father shifted under that pressure, his eyes darting from her to me, a reflection of his turmoil. Each volley of words from the CEO was another knot in the rope tightening around our family's future. I wanted to scream for clarity, for reassurance that everything wouldn't end in despair, but my voice failed me. I turned away, desperate to find solace in the bustling lobby, nature felt so out of reach. And yet even in that chaos, I found a flicker of kindness. An elderly woman, visibly frail but with an aura of warmth, caught my eye. She smiled, offering me a small, folded note. "Sometimes, words written down hold more power than those spoken in the heat of the moment," she said softly, her eyes twinkling with an understanding beyond comprehension. I accepted the note, clutching it tight. My heart raced, torn between the unknown calamity unfolding and this unexpected shard of hope. Eventually, my father's voice rose above the din. A shard of panic slipped into his calm facade. "You don't understand." My family. The clenching in my chest grew unbearable. I unfolded the note, hoping for an anchor amidst the tumult. The words were simple yet profound. The truth might shatter, but it can also transform. I felt a sliver of warmth radiate from those letters as if they were a beacon guiding me through uncertainty, but just as quickly as that warmth touched me, dread returned. The conversation had spiraled. I could see my father's fists clenched at his sides, knuckles white under pressure. The CEO's expression hardened as she leaned in closer, her voice low and measured. "Unraveling this now will only hurt them more in the long run." Fear gripped me as I realized she was referring to my mother, and the weight of that knowledge felt like lead upon my heart. The way my father flinched at her words spoke volumes. There were deeper implications at play, decisions that might navigate our family closer to ruin or safety, all hinging on this moment. The burden of secrecy clung to our family like a specter, lurking just beyond the flicker of hope offered by the note. My father finally turned to meet my gaze, his eyes cast down, shadows pooling beneath them. "I can't lose you both," he whispered like a promise bound in guilt, but it was too late. In that moment, an urgent notification chimed on my phone, startling the fragile air that lingered around us. I glanced down, my heart drumming erratically as I read the message. "We need to talk about your father. It's urgent." Panic surged through me like a wildfire. I looked back at the CEO, only to find her eyes narrowed sharply on my father. This revelation, whatever it was, would pull the thread currently holding our family together, ready to unravel our lives as they stood. "What else are you hiding?" I couldn't hold back the question, the words tumbling out amidst the heavy silence. And just then, everything stretched to a breaking point. The room held its breath. My father looked as if he might crumble, and the CEO froze, joy and sorrow colliding like hurricanes. What awaited us in this tangled web of secrets and revelations? Would the truth mend or destroy us? I had no answers, only the darkness of uncertainty creeping closer, each heartbeat echoing the inevitable storm on the horizon. The quiet confidence that the CEO had exuded moments ago fell away like a discarded mask, revealing the turmoil threaded through her expression. My father, previously poised yet fragile, was now merely a man at the edge of a precipice, teetering and desperate for a handhold. The air crackled with tension, each heartbeat making the silence more unbearable. "I can't," my father began but faltered, swallowing hard as he placed a hand against the cool marble wall. He turned to me, his eyes pleading, filled with a mix of guilt and desperation. "You have to trust me. Please. Trust." The word echoed mockingly in my mind. How could I trust him when everything felt like an elaborate masquerade? The feeling of betrayal, of being ensnared in a web of unanswered questions and hidden truths, loomed large. The chill creeping through my veins reeked of a storm brewing, one that threatened to raze our family to the ground. "I don't understand." I burst out, my voice cracking, resonating through the emptiness of the space around us. "What are you hiding? What's this about?" "My mother, stop." The CEO's voice cut through the fray like a knife. She took a step toward me, her gaze softening for a fleeting moment before hardening again as if she were wrestling with her own beliefs. "Your father is trapped in a situation much larger than you can grasp right now. There are things we cannot change overnight." "What situation?" I shot back, not caring that I was stepping into unknown territory. The urgency of this moment swept me away, demanding answers. "Is it about the company?" About us? She inhaled sharply as if taking in the weight of the words she was about to release. There are connections, relationships, things buried in the past that can surface at any time. You're standing on the brink of something significant that will alter your trajectory. What does that mean? I pressed, my heart racing with each passing second, a rhythm resonating with the chaos in my mind. You're talking in riddles. It's not my secret to tell, she replied, her voice steady yet strained, her composure unyielding against the tides of my emotions. Tension flooded back into the room, eclipsing the brief flicker of reassurance I had felt from the elderly woman's note. Why did secrets always seem to compound like guilt, suffocating us in their weight? Just then, another notification flashed on my phone. I snatched it up, my eyes widening as I read the message from an unknown number. I know everything about your father, and I can prove it. Meet me tonight. The words hit me like a wave crashing into dry sand, a revelation washed ashore among my thoughts. Questions tumbled through my mind like leaves caught in a whirlpool. Who was this? What did they know? And why did it feel ominous amidst the storm we already faced? Who is that? My father questioned, his voice tight, almost desperate. I don't know. It's an unknown number. I replied, my voice trembling. The weight of my uncertainty felt like being swept away, lost in turbulence. The CEO's attention shifted to me, reading the worry etched across my face. Do not engage with them. Not now, she warned, her voice laced with concern. These stakes are too high. Too high. The urgency in my voice heightened as I backed away. You're telling me to ignore someone who knows about my father? You're all involved in this, and we deserve answers. Enough. My father erupted, the anguish etched across his face breaking through the surface, a flash of vulnerability surfacing in a storm of emotions. You don't understand the dangers. Then make me understand. I shot back, tears pricking at the corner of my eyes as frustration bubbled over. Stop treating me like a child who's merely at the sidelines. I have a right to know. Silence fell upon us once again, raw tension suffocating the air, until finally, my father reached out, gripping my shoulders and lowering himself to my eye level. Listen. I love you and your mother fiercely. Every decision I've made has been to protect you both. But sometimes what? I cried, a mix of anger and desperation bubbling within me. We're not fragile dolls. Don't keep secrets to protect us. We're already living in uncertainty. Sometimes the truth can hurt more than you think. He released my shoulders, eyes filled with unspoken fears. This was the heart of the matter, the struggle of love against the backdrop of turmoil. In that moment, I felt the fractured pieces of my family's harmony shift beneath me like a quaking foundation. Suddenly, a tap on my shoulder startled me. I turned to see the elderly woman from earlier, her frail hand trembling, the note still offered with sincerity. Dear, keep this close. Sometimes light reveals where darkness hides. Her genuine smile offered flickers of warmth and hope amid the chaos. But even as gratitude bubbled within me, a new wave of dread washed over me. Mom, I whispered suddenly, the thought gripping me. The warning that enveloped us felt heavier. It wasn't just my father being threatened, our whole family was interconnected in this unresolved puzzle, straining for clarity, each piece tightly fitted to reveal something greater. Mom is in danger, isn't she? I asked again, my voice barely above a whisper. The silence was my answer. As realization settled, a chill raked down my spine. I turned back to my father, determination swirling within me as I prepared to confront not just him but the looming darkness over all of us. Somewhere outside, thunder rolled, resonating with the brewing storm, and I wondered if everything would culminate in that moment for better or worse. What awaited us next was uncertain, but I could feel the shadows closing in, promising a confrontation that would change everything. As the low rumble of thunder echoed ominously outside, I took a step back, reeling from the weight of the realization that had just struck me. My mother, the very spirit of our family, was entangled in this web of deception and danger. Each moment felt charged, as if we were suspended in time, the air thick with unspoken truths just waiting to burst. "Your mother is safe for now," the CEO finally said, her voice tinged with a hopeful inflection that contrasted sharply with the chaos swirling in my chest. "But there are forces at play that could threaten her existence if you don't act quickly." She paused, as though gauging my reaction, before adding, "You have to understand that she is connected to this situation far more deeply than you know." "What do you mean?" I asked, urgency pulsing through me. "Did she know something I didn't? She has a role in this story, a relation to your father that transcends business," the CEO replied, her eyes flickering between concern and something else, perhaps fear. "Things buried in the past may rise to the surface for both of them. Just tell me. Why can't anyone tell me the whole story?" I yelled, frustration boiling over. "If my mother's life is at stake, then I need the truth. I can't just stand by and let this happen." My father stood silent, his face pale and etched with an anxiety I had never seen before. "You have to listen to her," he pleaded, glancing back at the CEO for support. "Sometimes, knowing can make you more vulnerable." "Vulnerable?" My voice cracked as fresh tears blurred my vision. "You think keeping me in the dark will protect me? It's tearing us apart." The CEO stepped closer, her eyes softening, though a glint of determination shone through. "Maybe what you need is courage, and sometimes, facing the darkness can be the light you seek." The thunder crashed louder, and another ping from my phone pulled my attention, shaking me from my thoughts. I glanced down. Another message from that unknown number: "Tonight, 10 p.m. Bring your father." The room fell silent again, filled with an unnerving tension that seemed all-consuming. What on earth is that supposed to mean? My father choked out, dread pooling in his voice as he scanned my face. "I don't know," I replied, shaking my head violently, my heart pounding against my ribcage. "But they know about you, and they know about Mom. And we have to do something before it's too late." "Do you really want to go?" the CEO asked quietly, her gaze piercing but concerned. "It could unearth dangers that you are not prepared to face. That's the point," I shouted, desperation clawing at me. "I refuse to stand by as your secrets destroy my family. We have to confront whoever this is. They're threatening everything we hold close." My father sighed, looking between the two of us, weighing the gravity of my words against the fear etched across his face. "We can't rush in blindly. If you're right about this danger, then caution must be our ally. Caution is a luxury we can't afford." My voice took on an edge of anger mingled with hurt. "Your caution has already cost us our peace, Dad. I refuse to lose Mom too." The thunder roared outside, and in that fleeting moment, I realized something had shifted in the room. The very air crackled with a darker electricity that echoed the storm brewing outside. As my father raised his hand to silence my burgeoning fury, the CEO placed a hand on my arm. "Think about what you're risking. Whatever's in the shadows may come after you, too." Her words pierced through my anger, a reminder that this web of secrets threatened to ensnare me just as much as it had ensnared them. I felt the warmth of tears against my cheek, and for a moment, I faltered, overwhelmed by the enormity of my emotions. In that hesitation, I locked eyes with my father. For all the distance that separated us these last years, I saw a glimpse of the man I once idolized, a man trembling on the edge, scared not just for his safety but mine as well. And then, like a flickering candlelight, something else illuminated his expression: love, intense and unwavering. "Okay," he finally whispered, resignation palpable in his tone. "If this is what you truly want, then we face it together." The storm outside erupted into a thunderous crash that shook the very walls of the room, reflecting the enormity of what we were about to do. I nodded, feeling the weight of resolve settle over me, but just as the moment began to solidify with urgency, the old woman's voice floated back into my mind, warning of paths and truths we weren't prepared to see. The text buzzed again in my pocket. Another message, more insistent: you have until midnight. Make your choice. I turned to my father, heart racing. Midnight. Without another thought, I grasped his hand, determination sparking anew in my veins. Whatever awaited us tonight would change the course of our lives, but time was slipping through our fingers like sand, and I had no idea how deep the darkness truly ran. And as I prepared to step into the unknown, an unsettling realization hardened in my chest: the truth may not only bind us, it might also ignite the very flames that would consume our family whole. As we stood on the precipice of a choice that could alter everything, the air felt thick with unspent emotion, a battlefield of uncertainty stretching before us. My father's hand felt like an anchor, yet panic and resolve churned inside me like a tumultuous sea. I fought to steady my breath, unwilling to succumb to the panic that was edging closer. "Where do we go?" he asked, his voice a worn whisper, the tremors of fear threading through his question. "To the address in the text, I assume," I replied, forcing my voice to remain steady despite the tightness in my throat. After everything we had been through, the thought of facing the unknown felt monumental. "It's the only lead we have." The CEO's presence loomed like a shadow, and I turned to her, desperately searching for a final shred of guidance. But her expression conveyed a mixture of sadness and pride, as if she understood the harrowing journey that lay ahead. "Remember, uncovering the truth can come with a cost. Don't overlook the people you might hurt along the way," she cautioned, her eyes glistening under the harsh overhead lights. I nodded, though my heart raced with the knowledge that stakes had never been higher. Extricating my hand from my father's grip, I fumbled for the keys to the car. "Let us go," I urged, my voice carrying an urgency that left little room for hesitation. In the car, silence cloaked us like fog, amplified by the soft hiss of the windshield wipers battling against the rain. I glanced over at my father. His knuckles were white against the steering wheel, a clear sign of the trepidation we both felt. "What do you think is waiting for us?" His voice trembled, the question soft and unsettling. "I don't know," I admitted, feeling the weight of uncertainty crush any remnants of confidence. "But we can't go on like this, not knowing what's happening with Mom, or why all of this is happening to us." As the wipers swept rhythmically, I imagined what lay behind those words. The creased lines on his face told the story of storms endured and battles fought in the shadows. But a part of me still longed to bridge the distance between us, yearning to understand the man he really was underneath the facade of quiet strength. We arrived at the location, a crumbling warehouse on the outskirts of town, shrouded in darkness. The rain had begun to lessen, but a heavy fog hung in the air like a curtain of dread. An eerie feeling settled in my stomach as I unbuckled my seatbelt and glanced at my father. "Here we go," he murmured, his fearful gaze fixed on the shadowy entrance. We stepped from the warmth of the car into the damp chill of the night, our footsteps echoing against the cracked concrete. The weight of anxiety pulled me down, but I pressed forward, needing to know the truth whatever the cost. "Are you ready?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't think I can ever be ready for this," he replied candidly, his eyes searching mine for some sort of reassurance. With a deep breath, I forced myself to approach the hulking door. It creaked open, revealing a small room illuminated by flickering overhead lights. Inside, two figures stood waiting, one a shrouded silhouette, the other unmistakably familiar, my mother. "Mom!" I gasped, a flood of raw emotion crashing over me like waves. Relief intertwined with confusion and fear as I rushed towards her. Her expression was a mixture of worry and strength, but as our eyes met, I could see the depths of her pain that seemed to mirror my own. "You shouldn't have come," she warned, stepping closer, her voice trembling. "But we had to," I cried, glancing back at my father who now stood in the doorway, his face pale as he absorbed the scene. "We need answers." The shadow of the unknown figure stepped forward, revealed to be the CEO. Her voice was calm but determined. "We need to talk about what's truly at stake here. The air turned almost electric as the conduction of secrets began to spill. There are forces that want to exploit your family's involvement in this situation, she continued, framing the truth as if it were a delicate glass sculpture, fragile and precarious. The revelation wrapped around us, tightening like a vice. My mother shifted uncomfortably, glancing between me and the CEO. What should I have done? She finally asked, her voice thick with emotion. Through the chaos, her vulnerability shattered the tension in the room. For the first time, I felt the distance between us lift momentarily, replaced by the stark reality of shared fear and pain. You told me it was just business, but it runs so much deeper, doesn't it? I prodded, hoping to untwist the knot that had bound us for years. Before she could reply, the door slammed shut behind us, cutting off our retreat into a murky silence. The CEO turned sharply, the lines on her face deepening as she stood before my mother anyway. You need to decide who you want to protect, and at what cost. There are those who will stop at nothing to finalize their plans. Your life is intertwined with them, whether you realize it or not. The weight of those words hung in the air like a sinister fog. My heart raced as I looked back at my father, then over to my mother, both of their faces caught in the web of this nightmare. And it hit me like a thunderclap. The truth they were avoiding stared me straight in the face. The tragedy that had pulled us apart was slowly merging, threatening to envelop us all in its consuming darkness. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from outside, pulling every eye to the dimly lit window. Shapes loomed in the distance, dark figures moving toward the building like a storm waiting to unleash itself. Get down! My father barked, pushing me behind him as a wave of adrenaline kicked in. The room erupted into chaos, the looming dangers outside foreshadowing what would soon spiral into a confrontation we were not altogether prepared for. A cacophony of breathless uncertainty ripped through the air, and as I clutched my mother's hand and my father stood vigil, protecting us from whatever was to come, one thing became painfully clear: it was no longer just about the truth anymore, it was about survival, and I was afraid that the answers we sought would bring devastation beyond anything we had ever imagined. The darkness outside the warehouse seeped in with the whispers of imminent danger. My heart raced as my fingers intertwined tightly with my mother's, her warmth anchoring me, yet her trembling hand revealed the turmoil that churned beneath her facade. My father, always the fortress, stood resolute at the threshold, his eyes narrowed with ferocity, scanning the encroaching shadows. The sound of footsteps grew louder, a relentless march toward an unknown reckoning. What do they want? I gasped, the question slipping through clenched teeth as fear stung my throat. My mother's gaze sharpened, her face pale under the flickering light. They want the very thing that ties our family to this mess, she whispered fiercely, her eyes darting between me and the CEO. We need to find a way out of here. The CEO, standing stiffly against the wall, nodded solemnly. They've been watching us for too long. They won't stop until they have what they want. But we must be strategic about this. Strategic? My voice cracked, the weight of the situation pressing down on me in waves. Do you even understand what they're willing to do to us? The CEO met my gaze with an unexpected gentleness, as if she recognized the vulnerability hidden within the facade of my bravado. Yes, I do. And I know how to confront them. But it will mean revealing truths that many would rather stay buried. Just then, a loud bang erupted from the door behind us, sending splinters flying as an imposing figure burst into the room. His silhouette loomed ominously, the shadows dancing around him like whispers of chaos. Did you really think you could hide? He sneered, his voice sharp and confident. A ripple of terror lanced through me, but it was swift, replaced almost immediately by a flicker of anger. Who are you? I demanded, my voice steadier than I felt. The intruder smirked, leaning against the doorframe as if savoring our predicament. Just a messenger, darling. Your mother has something we want. And we don't have time for pleasantries. My father's body shifted in front of me, protective, fierce. Get out of here. This is not your fight. On the contrary, the man said, stepping further into the gloom, his voice dripping with malice. "It's very much our fight now." Chaos erupted again as the warehouse echoed with the sounds of destruction, each crash an ominous reminder of how fragile our place in this world had become. I glanced desperately at my mother, her expression reflecting a mixture of fear and resolve, and I felt a strange stirring within me, a sense that perhaps this was our moment. "Mom," I said, my voice low but urgent. "What are they looking for? What connects us to all this?" Her gaze averted, pain radiating from her like the moonlight trying to pierce through a stormy cloud. "It's more complicated than you think. This isn't just about business, it's about loyalty, sacrifice, and the mistakes of those who came before us." Before I could react, another crash sounded, causing debris to rain down from the ceiling. I turned my head just in time to see the CEO retreating towards a hidden door at the back of the warehouse. "Follow me," she shouted, urgency tightening her tone. In that moment, a fierce instinct welled up within me, spurring me to act. We had a choice to make: stay and face the danger or flee into the unknown. I looked to my father, searching for that anchor of certainty he always provided, and saw fear etched into his features, mirroring my own. "Let us go," he urged, grabbing my hand and pulling me closer to the CEO as she opened the door to the dark hallway beyond. As we entered, the corridor swallowed us whole, the echoes of chaos dampening behind us. But our escape was interrupted as we paused, panting, at an intersection. One path led further into shadow, the other a dim light flickering in the distance. "Which way?" my mother asked, her voice shaking slightly, the bravado of earlier fraying at the edges. "Follow the light," the CEO instructed firmly, an unyielding urgency lacing her tone. "We can't dwell here. They'll realize we're gone. We need to buy time. With our futures hanging by a thread, we began moving toward the light, my heart pounding almost in rhythm with the footsteps behind us. Each stride fueled by fear yet shadowed with uncertainty. Suddenly, my father stopped, his eyes widening. "Wait. There's something I need to tell you both." The gravity of his words caused an icy chill to reverberate through the hallway. "What is it?" my mother pressed, concern carving her features into a mask of desperation. "There's a reason we're entangled in this web," he stammered, struggling to find the words. "It's not just your mother's past. It involves me, real dangers that I've been protecting you from." Just then, the door we had exited slammed violently shut, the bang echoing in the confined space. The light ahead flickered and dimmed momentarily, casting shadows that twisted ominously. The fear that danced through me ignited with new intensity. "Dad, what do you mean?" But his gaze remained locked ahead, distant as if he was caught between the horrors of his choices and the path ahead. "All I know is that the truth could forever change our lives." Everything halted in that fleeting moment, and a new understanding settled thickly in the air. Would embracing the past bring us closer together, or would it drive an even deeper wedge between us? Before I could grasp the extent of his confession, a blood-curdling sound erupted from behind us, a chorus of footsteps reverberating against the concrete. "Run!" the CEO commanded, her voice breaking through the fog of dismay, pushing us forward as the ink of darkness swirled behind. With no choice but to plunge into the unknown again, I felt a pulse of dread as I sought solace in the warmth of my family, hoping against hope that we could navigate the treacherous waters ahead. Yet, deep down, a chilling sense of foreboding grew, whispering that the next truth revealed might shatter the fragile bond still holding us together. And as we plunged headfirst toward whatever awaited us beyond that flickering light, it became clear that the real terrors of our journey had only just begun. The corridor swallowed us as we pressed on, the dim light ahead flickering like a heartbeat, a pulse of hope in the dark. My father kept his pace steady, but the tension radiating from him felt like a storm poised to unleash its fury. Each step was heavy, drenched in the weight of unspoken fears, and the shadows loomed ominously at our backs. "Dad," I urged, desperation lacing my voice, "you can't just leave us hanging. What do you mean about the truth? What have you been protecting us from?" He cast a glance back, his brows furrowed deep, more haunted than I had ever seen him. "I thought no, I hoped that it would never come to this. I wanted to shield you, but secrets have a way of creeping out from the darkness." The CEO raced ahead, glancing over her shoulder with sharp urgency. "There's no time for this. Trust your instincts and keep moving." But the unease gnawed at me. What secrets lurked in the twilight of my father's past? Was this the tipping point that would unravel everything I believed about our family and their choices? The corridor widened, emerging into a cold, cavernous room. Cinders of industrial remnants littered the ground like forgotten dreams, and the air thickened. Glancing around, I noticed strange machinery, dimly lit by overhead lights that flickered ominously, struggling against the darkness that threatened to extinguish them completely. "What is this place?" My mother's voice wavered, echoing in the vast emptiness. "A storage bay leftover from when this site was operational. We can hide here for a moment," the CEO stated, her tone honest and unwavering as she scanned the far corners. "The less we expose ourselves, the longer we can plan our next move." The flickering lights above played tricks with shadows, and as we stepped forward, a sense of dread curled around my spine. Just then, a noise, a faint rumble. My heart leapt as I turned to my father. "Did you hear that?" His eyes widened, an understanding dawning upon him, the mask of control slipping slightly. "We may not be alone." Before I could react, an ear-splitting crash erupted from behind us. In an instant, heavy footsteps thundered down the corridor, a relentless pursuit driven by our pursuers. "Now!" The CEO motioned sharply to a nearby door. "Into the storage room. Quickly!" We scrambled into the small space, muscles tense as we tucked ourselves behind piles of crates. Silence enveloped us, punctuated only by the distant shouts of the intruders drawing closer. In that tight, darkened corner, I felt my mother's hand grip my arm, a fleeting moment of comfort momentarily shielding me from the enormity of our peril. That I stole a glance at my father. "You need to tell us the truth now." My voice dared to crack the fragile intimacy of our hidden sanctuary. His gaze met mine, filled with an urgency I had never experienced before. "I thought it was for the best. I was involved with them before it all went wrong. I had a hand in the actions that brought this terror upon us. I believed I could make the right decisions, protect our family, but in the end, it was my choices that led us here." The weight of his confession crashed over me, screaming against the background of looming danger. "Why didn't you tell us?" I felt a swell of anger mix with confusion. "I wanted to shield you from what I couldn't control," he insisted, his eyes pleading for understanding. "But I see now that it was foolish. Our choices are intertwined, woven together by threads that are thicker than blood. There's no such thing as just a choice when it potentially puts our lives in jeopardy," my mother interjected, a tremor in her voice betraying her fear. "You'll have to face the consequences. Like we are now?" I retorted, the bitter taste of betrayal coursing through me. "You think hiding behind silence will protect us? It won't." Footsteps drew nearer, and just as I thought our argument would shatter into oblivion, the door swung open, light spilling into our claustrophobic hiding place. A figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, one I recognized. "Looking for something?" The intruder's voice was taunting, imbued with menace. My breath caught in my throat as I recognized him, the man who had entered the warehouse before us. "What do you want?" I croaked, desperately sidestepping my fear. "Why, dear, it's not what I want, it's what your father has owed for far too long." He stepped forward, and the shadows twisted around him. "And you're all going to help him pay it back." Before I could comprehend the horror in his words, the CEO shifted forward, steel in her posture. "You'll never take them from me," she declared, a defiance burning in her gaze. But the intruder smirked wickedly. "Oh, but I'm just getting started." A chill rippled through the air, and it struck me that everything was on the brink of exposing our family's hidden history and unraveling the life I thought I knew. Choices were just aligning themselves in ways I never anticipated, and once the truth emerged from the shadows, there would be no going back. As the situation grew more precarious, I understood that perhaps facing the past was now unavoidable. Shivering with anxiety, my heart raced as I braced myself for the truth that was about to shatter all notions of loyalty and with it, the framework of the life I thought I could count on. The moment hung heavy in the air, tinged with desperation and a volatile mix of emotions. I could see the shifting shadows in the doorway where the intruder lingered, the taunt in his eyes serving as a stark reminder of our vulnerability. My heart raced as I clung to the few moments of solace tied to the presence of my family and the very stranger who had urged us to escape this nightmare. "What do you mean we'll help him pay it back?" I dared to ask the intruder, my voice striving for strength despite the icy fear trickling down my spine. His smirk widened, transforming into a cruel grin that revealed too much of his intentions. "Your father made deals dangerous ones. He thought he could handle the consequences, but here we are. Debt always comes due, doesn't it?" He stepped inside, soon masking the dim glow of the overhead lights as he moved further into our hidden sanctuary. "Leave him alone," I said, my voice quivering, resolve splintering with each word. "You don't know us." "Oh, but I do," he replied, his tone almost mocking as he stalked closer, shadows dancing around him. "I know your father well. A man who seemed to think he could save the world. How ironic. Now, see who pays for those misguided beliefs." I looked back at my father, his face a mask of turmoil. Underneath his firm exterior lay the cracks of guilt, regret, and fear. "What kind of deals?" I pressed, desperation spilling over into the words. "Tell me now," I insisted, staring into the depths of his eyes, searching for the truth. The tension thickened, and the world outside our small haven felt far away. My father's silence was a piercing dagger as shadows slipped around us, pulling the curtain of impending doom tighter until I feared we might suffocate under its weight. Finally, he spoke, his voice tightening. "I thought I could save the company, save us, by aligning with those who promised power and influence. The allure it was suffocating. I chose to ignore the dark paths that came with it." Each word felt like a confession, wrenching itself from his lips, the truth laid bare against the harsh backdrop of danger. The intruder's laughter echoed through the room. "Save you? The ones you thought you were protecting will now pay the ultimate price. Isn't that a poetic twist of fate?" Like ice, his words spread through my veins, replacing any flicker of hope with a haunting chill. My mother's grip on my arm tightened, and despite the horror overwhelming my senses, something stirred inside me, a burning certainty that I had to challenge this dark tide. "We won't let you take him," I said defiantly, though my heart trembled. The CEO stepped forward, unstinting resolve radiating from her. "Back off. You don't know the lengths I'll go to protect them," she warned, her expression fierce, leaving no room for doubt. A brave light ignited, offering a momentary assurance against the encroaching shadows. "Protecting them?" The intruder echoed incredulously. "How valiant. Just wait until the fangs of this deal sink deeper. Your threats will crumble like the stories of valor you cling to." In one swift move, he gestured behind him. The door swung open wider, and a group of equally menacing figures surged inside, their expressions cold and predatory. "Time's up. The party is over." Panic overwhelmed my senses as we glanced around the cramped space. In this small haven, the air stilled with dread, and I could feel the tendrils of despair creeping in, threatening to suffocate the last flickers of hope. We were outnumbered, caught in the web of consequences that had ensnared my father. "Be brave," my father whispered to me, a rare moment of tenderness breaking through the chaos. "Whatever happens, know that that's enough." The intruder cut him off, raising a hand. "No more heroics, just the reckoning and bitter reality you've orchestrated for your family. And say goodbye to your illusions." Desperation clawed at my insides as fear blurred my vision. Yet, stripped of the luxury of anger, I felt a flicker of defiance surging once more. The truth of my father's past felt like a tempest within me, mingling with the urge to protect my family. And just when I thought we were teetering on the edge of despair, a glimmer of an unexpected possibility intervened. From behind the crates, an unfamiliar voice rang out, cutting through the looming shadows. "Not if I can help it." Everyone froze, the room turning taut as we turned towards the speaker, a figure stepping forward from obscurity, held high the intuition of unforeseen hope. Who were they? I felt the unease envelop me again as the newcomer settled under the dim light, unveiling a desperate yet fierce resolve swimming in their eyes, a reflection of our own turmoil yet ablaze with the possibility of defiance. They pointed squarely at the intruder. "Let us rewrite this ending together." The weight of that moment pressed down on us like the silence of approaching storm clouds. Though clarity blinked in and out, the story was shifting. I could feel that something was coming, a confrontation or reckoning that would not only decide our fates but could also shatter the intricate web of choices that weaved through our past. And as tension collided, a shattering realization lanced through me: every thread we woven could now tangle together in a way I never anticipated. An unexpected ally? A chance to reclaim our story? My heart raced with fear and anticipation. The fight was far from over, and the truth, convoluted as it felt, was unraveling before our eyes. The tension in the air crackled as the new figure stepped cautiously into the dim light, revealing a young woman with messy hair and fierce determination in her eyes. Her presence was an electric pulse that momentarily diverted the encroaching darkness, and I could see my family's shock mirrored across their faces. "Who are you?" The intruder spat, his voice dripping with disdain, yet I sensed a hint of uncertainty flickering in his gaze. "I'm someone who knows the truth," she declared boldly, her confidence shifting the atmosphere ever so slightly in our favor. "You think you can intimidate us? You don't know how far we're willing to go to protect what matters." What was this truth she spoke of? The word echoed in my mind, a ravenous fledgling searching for meaning. Questions blossomed, twisting and turning in my chest, but I dared not voice them. The veil of despair still loomed thick, but within it now flickered a glint of hope. "You don't understand the stakes," the intruder replied, though I could tell his bravado was beginning to falter. "You think your little resistance will make a difference? This isn't a fairy tale. There are no heroes in a world built on betrayal." "No," the young woman interjected, standing taller. "But there are those willing to fight against the darkness, and you'd be wise to remember that." For a heartbeat, her unwavering intensity pushed back against our looming fate, unveiling the flickering ember of resolve hidden within me. Among the figures who had entered with the intruder, a man clad in an imposing suit shifted his weight, casting a wary glance in the direction of our newfound ally. "Enough of this charade. We have no time for theatrics. The debts will be paid." The icy edge in his voice sliced through the flicker of hope, extinguishing it momentarily as reality tore at my heartstrings. "Debts?" My voice broke through the heavy silence. "What does that mean for my family?" I felt the weight of vulnerability press into my chest. The truth lingered close, a specter locked away in the hidden corridors of my father's past. The young woman's fierce gaze softened slightly as she stepped closer to us. "You have no idea what your father's choices unleashed," she admitted, almost reluctantly, though the fire still burned in her expression. "But I've seen the damage it's caused, and I'm not here to let history repeat itself. We can find a way to set things right." Before I could interject, my father, now trembling slightly, matched her gaze. "You don't understand how deep the roots of this debt run. And even if we find a way out, can we truly escape the consequences?" His voice was tinged with despair and vulnerability. It pierced through the air like a dark arrow. The intruder leaned in closer, relishing the strain on my father's shoulders. "This is what happens when arrogance overshadows intelligence. Your family will face retribution. There is no escaping that now." I couldn't bear to see my father so broken, layers of stoicism peeling away like paint eroding under the weight of truth. In that moment, a mixture of compassion and fury surged within me. I stepped forward, the ground beneath me trembling with each heartbeat. "We won't be silent victims. We will fight back. Whatever it takes." The intruder laughed, but it felt hollow, an echo uncertain of its roots. Inspiring. But inspiration alone won't save you. You'd best realize that even the strongest flames can be extinguished suddenly. A loud crash reverberated through the room as a metal door swung open, revealing a group of unknown allies rushing in, a tangle of anger and purpose. In the chaos, a flash of familiarity caught my eye. One of the newcomers was someone I had never expected to see again, my childhood friend, mates against the world when our challenges seemed smaller, but together now, we faced greater dangers. Eva. I gasped, disbelief mingling with joy and fear. Somehow, against the odds, she stood here now, a spark in this tempest. Her eyes widened as they met mine, filled with the same determination I felt swelling in my heart. Let us do this together. She shouted, rallying the others. The tide had shifted, and chaos now danced as potential swirled in the air like a tempest, a chaotic symphony of hope arising from the ashes of despair. Let them come, the intruder sneered, straightening, but his bravado felt thin, his claims of inevitability flaking away like dry paint. You will all regret this decision. Just as he spoke, the atmosphere crackled with a sudden, unforeseen burst of energy. A momentarily blinding light flooded the space, and then darkness settled quickly back in, leaving the tension peeling back like layers of uncertainty. Amidst the chaos, a figure darted past, their silhouette merging with shadows, white-knuckled and wild. Watch it! Someone shouted, and in that instant, I glimpsed something awful, a hidden weapon glinting in the half-light, a slip of danger poised to slice through our fragile alliance. A gasp escaped my lips. The moment hung in the air, pregnant with threat and possibility. The world as we knew it trembled as we stood on this precipice, facing the darkness we had unwittingly summoned. But hope ignited like a flame within me, sending currents of courage through my veins, darting around the encroaching shadows. My father, my family, my friends, it all made sense now. The storm was here, fierce and unrelenting, yet in our hearts, we beat as one, ready to rewrite our fates, no matter the cost. But as the knife glimmered perilously close, I knew we were standing at the very edge, and this fight was only just beginning, an unyielding dance between light and darkness. And then there was that voice again, echoing through the chaos, clear and unwavering. Now, let us see how this story unfolds. The chaos enveloped us, the air thick with tension and despair rivaled only by the flickering fear in my heart. We were surrounded, my family tethered to the past by a fraying thread, caught in a storm of our own making. Yet as I glanced around the room filled with shadows and uncertainty, my resolve crystallized like a shard of glass, sharp and unwavering. The intruder stood tall, arrogance oozing from every movement. But even amid the cacophony, I sensed a shift. There was power in unity, a surge of insurmountable potential. We can't let them divide us, I called out, my voice steadier than I felt. Our truth is our weapon. Whatever debts our fathers owe, we will stand together and confront it. Eva's fierce gaze sparked a new energy within me, and the scattered allies rallied around the truth binding us. You think the past can dictate our futures? She shouted defiantly. You're wrong. With that, she charged ahead alongside the CEO and our newfound friends, faces determined and eyes glaring at the encroaching shadows. They joined forces, embodying defiance against our impending fate, forging a path I had only dared to wish for. Fight! I shouted, frustration morphing into strength. The moment the intruder's men surged forward, we met them head-on. The warehouse exploded into chaos, with our voices echoing like battle cries, piercing through the suffocating darkness that sought to consume us whole. As I maneuvered through the fray, I caught glimpses of my father, now transformed by desperation. He pressed forward and, even as the specter of guilt loomed over him, I could see the flicker of courage reflected in his eyes. Together! He called, and I could hardly believe that the man who had held himself in silence for so long was finally ready to confront the storm. He moved to protect my mother, strength emanating from him in waves. What matters is family. He shouted, pulling her into the fray. In that sacred moment the tapestry of our lives threaded with pain and honesty unraveled, revealing a fierce desire to reclaim control, and then I saw her, my mother, tears glistening in the heat of battle. "We have faced storms before," she roared, a fierce fire igniting in her voice as she punched through whatever barriers had confined her spirit. "We have the power to write our own narratives." Her defiance resonated within me, a roar that surged like electricity, igniting an intense warmth in my heart. Our roles shifted. We weren't just fighting for our lives, but for the very essence of who we were, unearthing the bonds forged by love and resilience. But the battle was not without its toll. The intruder, still close, sneered as his henchmen closed in like shadows. "What a touching scene. But you really think you can escape your past?" he taunted, venom lacing his words. "You underestimate the strength we have together," the CEO shot back, rallying those behind us, courage shared like a torch in the dark. There was something palpable in the air, a sense of unity that rippled through us, binding our resolve against the darkness we dared to confront. As we pushed back against our adversaries, I could see shifts among their ranks, a fracturing confidence as they sensed the tide turning. We fought as one, and adrenaline surged in beautiful waves, stoking the embers of hope sparked within our hearts. But just when I thought we had gained the upper hand, the intruder lunged toward my father, weapon glinting in the exposed light, a fierce accusation in his eyes. "This ends now," he spat, fury igniting his movements as he pressed forward. I felt the ground drop beneath my feet, time slowing to an agonizing crawl as I rushed to protect him. "No!" I screamed, reaching out with every ounce of fear coursing through my veins, but it was too late. In a moment that felt almost dreamlike, my father stepped between the intruder and me, sacrificing himself for his family. There was a flash of inevitability as I felt the impact of the blade tear through the air, the decisive moment binding us not just in chaos, but in an aching sense of reclaiming our fates. A choking gasp escaped my lips as the darkness of reality crashed over me. In that heartbeat, everything shifted, time cascaded around us, reality folding in on itself as I felt my world unravel. My father turned to me, eyes filled with a mixture of love and sorrow. "Forgive me," he whispered, and those two words became an anchor potent and forgiving, tethering me to a hope greater than despair. And as the shadows threatened to pull me under, I swallowed my grief, knowing deep down that this was not the end. I turned to my mother, who met my gaze with fierce intensity. "We will rise," I vowed, gritting my teeth against the pain that seared through me. "For him, for us." As the chaotic dance of battle raged, I gathered the weight of our shared history, my voice rising above the din. Our story isn't written by darkness, it's one we forged together. We will reclaim what was lost, and this time, we will not hide in shadows. We fight for family, our legacy, and we will not back down. And suddenly, the very air crackled as our united spirits, ignited with righteous fury, turned the tide. The intruder faltered, uncertainty seeping into his bravado as we surged forward, each heartbeat resonating with the strength of our shared narrative. In a final clash of wills, the furies of the past met the determination of the present. We barreled through the shadows, pushing back against the device hiding in plain sight. And through the storm of uncertainty and pain, there shone a clear, blinding light, the resolute promise of reclaimed futures. As we stepped into the future forged from fragmented histories, I realized that while the scars of our past might remain, we had weathered the storm. Forgiveness wasn't a destination, it was a journey, an acceptance of our shared humanity etched into every fiber of our beings. And so, as dawn broke over the horizon, illuminating a new path with tender hues of hope, I turned to my father, my mother, and my friends. Together, I whispered fiercely, we will rewrite our narrative. The sky shimmered with the promise of tomorrow, and I knew no matter how deep the shadows had filched our light, we would emerge victorious on the other side, united in love and resilience, where every thread of truth strengthened our bond. And with that, we strode forward, hand in hand, ready to face the dawn of a new chapter, a testament to a family reborn in strength and unwavering hope, because together, we could conquer any storm that dared to approach.